A scientist said, "You're killing more cancer cells than as if you had used radiation." That same scientist went on, "If you had spent millions of dollars developing a new drug that killed this many cancer cells, it would be a home run."
How amazing would it be if you heard that there's essentially a cure for most cancers? I have to whisper that because the algorithm. But there has been some amazing research that's been going on for the last couple of decades that is finally making it to the forefront. Many of us know a lot of these natural cures and whatnot are suppressed. They're suppressed for years. But then many of us find out about it, but yet we do nothing about it. So this time, let's not allow it to just go by the wayside and say, "Oh, well, guess we can't do anything about that." There is a channel here on YouTube called, well, there's a few channels. It's Demolition Ranch, Off the Ranch, and then Homemade Everything. They are brothers. Demolition Ranch has a Second Amendment channel and just a good family-oriented channel. They're Off the Ranch, and they're just like, it's a good family channel. We don't have many of those anymore on YouTube. And I just recently found out that his brother has cancer, okay? And he has a channel, Homemade Everything. And they just, I don't know them personally, but he is going through treatment. He has 2 small little kids, and I felt that this was the perfect time to talk about this amazing treatment that has been, like I said, being researched for decades. And they are actually using it, but most people don't know about it. And let's ensure that everybody knows about it, and this starts actually being used. No more of the chemo and radiation, things that are going to end up killing you before the actual disease kills you, okay? As many of you know, I am a former emergency room nurse, and you know, I'm not going to say that I saw things that, yeah, I mean, we know that there are sketchy things that go on in any field where there is money to be made. But it's really sad in a situation where it's somebody's health, life or death health at that.
Usually I would be standing on this stage over here conducting the college orchestra because I'm a music professor. But tonight I'm going to talk about my moonlight activities in the field of science and how they led to a cancer research lab and an important breakthrough. Over the past 8 years, I've had the great pleasure of working with some brilliant and dedicated scientists. They were very open-minded, and we had a common dream that in the future, children would not have to suffer from cancer or from the terrible side effects of toxic drugs or radiation, because we believed there just had to be a better way. There had to be a better way, and we think we may have found it. A scientist said, "You're killing more cancer cells than as if you had used radiation." That same scientist went on, "If you had spent millions of dollars developing a new drug that killed this many cancer cells, it would be a home run." This was an astonishing thing to hear, especially for a music professor who had just completed his first experiments in a cancer lab. But we didn't use any radiation. We didn't use any drugs. So what did we do? I have here two identical tuning forks, both tuned to the note A, the note an orchestra tunes to. These forks are both made to vibrate 440 times per second. We say their frequency is 440 hertz. If I tap this fork, putting little pulses of energy into it, the second fork will also vibrate in sympathy. And if I silence this fork, we just may hear the other singing its tone. We say that I'm inducing a sympathetic resonant vibration in the second fork. It only works because both forks are tuned to the exact same frequency. Now, many of us have seen this very charming young man on the internet who shatters crystal glasses with his powerful voice. But if you watch him carefully, you'll see that first he taps the glass with his finger and listens. The glass sings its natural resonant pitch. Then he takes a deep breath and sings a loud, long note. He induces a resonant vibration in the crystal glass. The vibration grows larger and larger and larger until the glass is shattered. On the other end of the scale, we have a giant bridge made out of concrete and steel, a suspension bridge, the Tacoma Narrows Bridge. Cars and trucks and buses are going over it every day. And unfortunately, where they built this bridge, there was a steady wind blowing across it. And one day, this wind induces a small vibration in the bridge, hardly noticeable. But the frequency of the vibration matches the resonant frequency of some part of the bridge. And the vibration gets larger and larger and larger until the bridge collapses into the river below. A destructive resonant frequency. So on one end of the scale, we have a giant concrete and steel bridge destroyed by resonance. And on the other, we have a small crystal glass shattered. So maybe we could shatter something even smaller, something really small, something you would need a microscope to see. Maybe we could shatter a living microorganism. But to do that, you'd need some sort of theory to serve as a basis. And we find that basis in a wonderful book called The Rainbow and the Worm, The Physics of Organisms, by a scientist, Mei-Wan Ho. And that book makes a very strong case that living organisms and cells are liquid crystals, or in the least, they have many properties of liquid crystals. Now, we're all familiar with liquid crystals because they are in our laptop computer screens. LCD display, liquid crystal display. And we can change the qualities of the liquid crystals in our computer screen by sending special electronic signals to it. We can change the color and the shape on the screen with these signals. So maybe we could change a biological living liquid crystal with a special electronic signal. But in order to do that, we would need some kind of device. So we searched the US patent database, and we find this invention by a physician, Dr. James Bear of Albuquerque, New Mexico. It's called a resonant frequency therapy device, and its purpose is to induce a resonant vibration in a living organism or cell. And there are two really important things about this device. The first is that it uses a very special kind of antenna. They take a hollow glass sphere, they evacuate the air, they put in some helium gas, and when we send in our electronic signals, the helium gas lights up like a fluorescent light. An electrified gas is called a plasma. So this is called a plasma antenna. and it has many special properties uniquely suited for this kind of work. The second important aspect about Dr. Baer's invention is that the output always pulses. It's on, it's off, it's on, it's off. This is very important because when you're doing research on the effects of electromagnetic waves on living organisms and cells, if the signal is constantly on, you are in danger of inducing heat in those cells. And heat causes indiscriminate destruction. And we don't want that. We want targeted destruction. So we don't have to worry about heat. And now we go to the biology laboratory and we take Dr. Baer's device, and the hunt begins through a microscope for a frequency which will shatter a living microorganism. Now we have a method of controlling Dr. Baer's device by an input control frequency. So if I put, when we send in our electronic signals, the helium gas lights up like a fluorescent. These are the first videos taken. We showed these videos to our friends in the biology department. They said they hadn't seen anything quite like it. Seems to be a new phenomenon. These organisms are being shattered by our electronic signals. This is a harmless organism, almost friendly, a little blepharisma. And normally they're very fast swimmers, but when you approach a frequency to which they are vulnerable, they begin to slow down, then they stop, and then they begin to disintegrate within about 3 minutes. So now we know we can destroy a microorganism, and the question comes up, but can you target a specific organism with a specific frequency? So in this next video, you'll see a large organism in the center, a paramecium, undergoing disintegration, and swimming all around it, a tiny different organism, which is unharmed. If we're lucky, we'll also hear the audio as I narrate the experiment live in a noisy lab. Perhaps you can see the sort of fireworks effect happening in the growing blister to the right of the organism. And here comes a little neighbor, wondering what's going on. Who's testing. And you can see blisters forming now on the lower left quadrant and upper left quadrant. The shape is now changing. And a major explosion out the top. So now we have some evidence that we can target specific microorganisms with specific frequencies. And we make several more videos, and we film the destruction of hundreds of microorganisms. And about this time, we meet a cancer researcher, and we show them these videos. And this results in an invitation to spend 4 months in a cancer research lab trying to shatter cancer cells. This is our setup in the lab. You can see the microscope with cancer cells on it. Here's the plasma tube, and here's my little frequency control box. So first we attack pancreatic cancer. Take a good look at this slide, because the next one will look quite different. After we treat these cells, they change their shape and size, and they begin to grow long, rope-like structures out the sides. They look something like antennas. I call them bioantennas for biological antennas. It's as if the cancer cells are trying to tune into our signal. It also turns out this is the beginning of a process of destruction for cancer cells. We now know that cancer is vulnerable between the frequencies of 100,000 hertz and 300,000 hertz. So now we attack leukemia cells. Leukemia cell number 1 tries to grow a copy of itself, but the new cell is shattered into dozens of fragments and scattered across the slide. Leukemia cell number 2 then hyperinflates and also dies. Leukemia cell number 3 then tries to make another cancer cell. The new cell is shattered and the original cell dies. But killing a handful of leukemia cells is not enough for a patient. What kind of numbers can we do? In repeated controlled laboratory experiments, independently assayed by the 2 top experts, we killed an average of 25% to 42% of the leukemia cells, as high as 60%. They also determined that we slowed the growth rate of the cancer by as much as 65%, so a double effect. Now we attack ovarian cancer cells. This is a more distant shot. Here you see brackets coming up around the cells, showing groups of ovarian cancer cells which are being destroyed. You can see by the end of the video that a great many ovarian cancer cells were destroyed. Now we attack pancreatic cancer once more. In the center of the screen is a clump of pancreatic cancer cells like a microtumor under the microscope. We turn on our electronic signals and the tumor shrinks and is broken up. The cells are disconnecting, disaggregating, the opposite of forming a tumor. And some of the cells are destroyed.
I know there are many questions because I've read the comments on his other videos. Many doubters. Well, let me explain something. He's not the first person to discover this. He's just one of the only ones. I mean, there's a few, but that is persistent and continues to work on this. Many people gave up or they passed away before anything was able to come to fruition, or they were suicided. And this is not pseudoscience. This has been known for so long. And I'll do another video about it and explain some more in depth just from what, me speaking about it. But let's look at what Nikola Tesla said. Back July 3rd, 1899, the discovery of stationary terrestrial waves, aka standing waves, indicates that despite the vast extent, the entire planet can be thrown into resonant vibration like a little tuning fork. The electrical oscillations suited to its physical properties and dimensions pass through it unimpeded in strict obedience to mathematical law, has proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that the Earth, considered as a channel for conveying electrical energy, is infinitely superior to wire or cable, however well designed. Of course, he was speaking of something else that we will talk about, but it all goes together. If you look at this right here, everything, every living organism is built with the perfect golden ratio. And when you figure out that golden ratio, then you can figure out how to find its resonance or how to levitate things like the Tibetan monks have done. This isn't quackery. This is just technology or it's really just understanding the natural law of things. Mother Nature is not, or, God was not just like some random quackery. Everything has its place. And it's all built around the same mechanism. It's like God's fingerprint on everything with this golden ratio. Okay, y'all have a wonderful day. Like, share, and subscribe, and let's get this out to everyone. This is amazing information. Yeah, it's been out for a few years, but yet if we don't push it, it's going to stay just in the archives. That's what it's going to do. Let's get some people cured. We can't just watch people die when we know. I honestly know of people that have been cured without chemo and radiation. But of course, we can't say that, because then we get kicked off, demonetized, and all of these things. But do the right thing. This is going to get demonetized, but it's not about the money. You know? It's about helping people. It's about the truth. Just one note to end on. If y'all do happen to see this, Mark, Matt, Mare, JC, and the kids, I hope everything goes well for you. I'm not looking to, you know, for y'all to try to make me famous or anything like that. I honestly just do care. Me and my family just absolutely love your channel, and there's not many family channels around anymore, and your story really touched me. And I've always looked for natural cures and whatnot, and when I saw that, I mean, you having little kids, and then I had a friend recently that lost her husband at a pretty young age, and I'm just like, why? There are other options, but it's like people close their mind off to any other options. And actually at MD Anderson, where you are going, where you're doing your treatment, they actually do have one of these Resonance machines. I'm not sure what theirs is called. There's a couple of different ones, but you can always email me, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, and we can chat, whatever. But anyway, guys, y'all have a wonderful day. Like, share, and subscribe. And yeah, for sure, share this. Share this with their channel so they can hopefully get this. So, anyway, bye, guys. Well, wait, guys, I care about everybody, okay? If you have a family member that has cancer, I care about you too. Don't think this is just about one YouTuber, okay? Oh gosh, I'm crazy, y'all. I'm just crazy. Anyway, bye, guys.